I see you here. I wanted to talk about guilt today and how useless of an emotion it is. Okay, so this is a good one. So what up, bye babes? It's been quite a while since I made one of these videos, but I did want to make today's video because it's a very important topic. I will be talking about transphobia in the bi community today, so this is not really one of my feel-good bisexual videos that I normally give to you guys. I wanted to do this video because I really want to make sure that the world is a lot safer for trans people. What I do want to say is that for this video, I am going to kind of come down hard on us, but I do understand that the B, bisexual, with the T, trans, has been a thing for a very, very, very long time. Prior to 2014 with the Time magazine cover of Laverne Cox, it's been the B with the T for a very long time. You know, before trans people started to gain some sort of visibility in media, I would say that a lot of bi people have been very accepting, and we have also had a sort of joint struggle in a lot of ways, because the existence of bisexual people and the existence of trans people in a lot of ways really upends this idea of like a fixed binary, both sexuality and binary gender in a lot of different ways. So bisexual people and trans people, and some trans people are bisexual, have had a very linked history and a linked struggle in a lot of ways. So I do want to acknowledge that historically we have been sort of united, right? But I also do want to get us together. So in other words, I will not be doing any coddling today. So first things first, I did want to show you all an image of the gingerbread person. Is supposed to be like an accessible way to begin to discuss things like gender identity, sexuality, and biology and things like that. I know that quite a lot of trans people actually do not like this graph because it's like it's made for a child. And it's like, why can't you just understand what I'm saying to you? I'm saying that I am the gender that I'm saying that I am. Why can't you just take that? Why do you need a graph that is like something that you would show like a 4-year-old? So yeah, that's true and that's fair, you know? But I did want to bring this up because the genderbread person is something that people widely reference. It is like a 101 sort of intro to understand what being a trans person is, or being non-binary, and how that is different from sexuality. Akin to like a Kinsey scale. And a lot of bi people have a lot of problems with this Kinsey scale. But it is a lot of times people's introduction into understanding bisexuality as a spectrum, right? Right. And I remember a time where I was like very, very fixated on men who were very, very masculine, and very, very fixated on women who were very, very feminine. And that was a place that I was in my life. And I feel like I went through that place because I was trying to really understand my own sexuality and control it and define it properly. And the only kind of acceptable man is a man who looks like this and has muscles and is big and strong and tall and masculine. And the only woman that I would want to be with is one that's very prissy and feminine and small and skinny and short. And I can see why I was at that place. It was like a place of deep insecurity for me, and also immaturity and inexperience too. I was just inexperienced. I didn't really have a lot of varied experiences with people of various gender expressions. So I was going a lot off of like my imagination of what a man is and what a man should be, and my imagination of what a woman is and what a woman should be. And I don't want to say this as a way of saying like, oh yeah, well, trans men can't be hyper masculine, because they can, and they are, and not all trans men look the same or act the same. And the reverse is true as well with trans women. Not all trans women act the same or look the same. But it just kind of reminds me of this time where I had this very fixed idea of men and very fixed idea of women, and that came from society and my ideas about gender. And then I started meeting and dating men and women, and it's like everybody's different, and it's like everybody has creativity, so everybody creates their gender expression, how they express themselves. And it's like now it's become about, do I like your creativity in the way that you express your gender, or the ease in which you express your gender? Quickly, I want to go over how I was introduced to the word pansexual. It was back in like 2012 when I first started getting comfortable with my sexuality and being a part of support groups and all of that sort of stuff. And initially I was introduced to the word pan as like, oh, it's a rebuttal to bisexuality, because bisexuality is all about the binary of gender. It's all about a man and a woman, a super hyper feminine woman and a super hyper masculine man. It ignores gender expressions in between. It ignores genders that are not binary. It ignores non-binary people. It excludes trans people. If you want to show that you are attracted to genders that are not just in the binary, then you go and be pansexual. So a lot of people in the bi support group that I was a part of, they took obvious offense to that and talked about the ways in which that is biphobic. I want to acknowledge, now that I've learned more, that that is not the definition of pan either. The definition of bi is not exclusionary of non-binary people or trans people or people who are not a man or a woman or other genders, whatever. And the definition of pan is not a rebuttal to bisexuality, though a lot of people do use it nowadays as a rebuttal to bisexuality, but that's not what pansexuality is. Pansexuality is experiencing attraction no matter the gender. So obviously, like with that definition, like there's going to be quite a lot of overlap between bi and pan, and like there's a lot in common, but there are some things that are different too. So I do want to acknowledge that, because that's going to help us move throughout this video. Trans people deserve dignity, whether we want to sleep with them or not. Trans people deserve rights. They deserve consideration. And it gets weird when you're othering trans people. So a trans woman is a woman. So if you say that you're attracted to women, yeah, they're women. Like, the way they experience gender is different. So that's what being trans is. It's about experiencing gender in a particular kind of way, but they're women. So if you say that you're attracted to women, you don't need to now add a label and say, oh yes, I'm trans attracted, or I'm pansexual. I want trans people to know that I'm attracted to them. Oh, don't worry, I'm attracted to you. Oh, don't worry, I would sleep with you. And it's like, whoa, now you've put me in this other sort of category, and that is when it starts to become like fetishization. It becomes weird, and objectification too. And it's always like, well, I want to learn, so I should listen to the people that I'm trying to be an ally to or learn from. And across the board, so many trans women, so many trans men, so many trans non-binary people too have said, yeah, like, not crazy about the term trans attracted. Not crazy about when cisgender people using the term pansexual to signify that they would in fact date me, or they would in fact be attracted to me. Like, what? And it gets into really murky territories when you're on these dating apps and you come across a person who discloses their trans identity to you, and you ask like, oh, well, are you pre-op? Are you post-op? So now you're fixating on people's genitals now. Now you're asking really invasive questions, and you want to know what they have in their pants, and it's just so incredibly invasive and objectifying. And it reminds me of this thing that some bisexual people say to trans people, which is, oh, you're the best of both worlds. And that is incredibly disgusting to say to a trans person. That is not okay. They are the gender that they say they are. And so you insinuating that they're not, you insinuating that they're a combination of this gender and this gender or whatever, is not something that you want to say. And even things along the lines of when a trans person comes out to you and you say, it doesn't matter to me, like whatever you got in your pants, I'll take it. It's like, it gets weird. It gets really, really weird. And it gets into this point I'm gonna make a little bit later about like boundaries and feeling a little too comfortable with trans people. It's like this overfamiliarity. And like, I do want bi people to understand that sometimes, like when you are pursuing a trans woman or a trans man, they can be a little wary of us because of the things that I've mentioned in the past that bisexual people have said. And also, some people may feel somewhat dysphoric with a bisexual person being attracted to them and feeling like, oh, well, do you see me as the gender that I am, or are you seeing me because you think I am a girl or you think I am a boy? Is that what you're attracted to? You have to be very careful if you're serious about being open to dating people of trans experience or just being an ally. You have to be sensitive and you have to be aware of this. and not feel entitled to trans people's attention or bodies. They don't gotta want you. Not every trans person wants you. And that goes back to what I was talking about overfamiliarity. It's like something I see that happens so often with marginalized groups. So I see this happen especially with Black women, dark-skinned Black women. People who are not dark-skinned Black women feel like, I know your ticket. I could talk to you like this, sister, girl, ma'am. Like, oh yeah, I know you. I have a friend just like you, or like my cousin looks like you, so I can just like talk to you any kind of way. And it's like, you don't know me. You don't know me. Yeah, your cousin might look like me, or your cousin is dark-skinned and a Black woman, like, but I'm not your cousin. You don't know me. And I want us to keep that same energy when it comes to trans people. You don't know this person. Y'all don't have a relationship. Just because you're attracted to them doesn't mean that they need to give you attention back. Just because they popped up on your radar doesn't mean that they need to respond to you in the same way that you would like them to. You don't know them. They are a person. They are autonomous. It's something about being bisexual and something about being a person of trans experience that is similar in terms of when you disclose this, people feel like you get rid of your consent. Oh, you're bisexual? That means you like it at any time. That means I can grope you, and it's not really groping. It's like, you're bisexual. You like this kind of shit. And a lot of trans people talk about that same thing. Once you disclose, once people know, they feel entitled to your body, entitled to your time, entitled to your space. And getting into sex now. Stop seeing trans people as sexual experiments. So I've learned with a lot of trans men, cisgender men do not like when a trans man is trying to top them. Even if normally they are either a bottom or verse, when it comes to a trans man, they're like, no, 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 you can't top me. That's transphobia, love. That's transphobia. That's transphobia. That's transphobia. That's transphobia. Like, you gotta unpack. You gotta unpack that. You gotta unpack that. And not all trans people want to talk about being trans all day or want to educate you. So if you are trying to be friends with a trans person, if you are trying to romantically pursue a trans person, do your own research. If you got questions, pull out your phone, go on Google. Don't ask them one-on-one questions. Don't ask them questions unless they told you that, like, oh yeah, it's question time. Do you have anything you want to ask? Or like, unless it comes up. It's not their responsibility to educate you. In the same way that we as like a bisexual community would prefer if people at least knew some 101 things about us that they learned on their own, on the internet, on YouTube, on Google. Yeah, do the same thing. Know some 101 things. That's why I put the gingerbread person graph in the beginning of the video. It's very 101. It's an intro, it's a beginning, it's a way to start to learn about this stuff. Stop seeing trans people as sexual objects. So there are some great trans YouTubers out there who talk about everything. So one of my favorite ones is Blaque. She is a Black trans woman who lives in LA. She is polyamorous. She is straight. So she talks about the intersection of being a Black woman, a Black trans woman living in LA. And she's also an illustrator and animator. She talks about being polyamorous a lot and being into the BDSM community. So a lot of her videos are very, very informative, but they're also quite like advanced. So you already have to kind of understand a little bit about what it is to be trans before you can really fully grasp the depth and the nuance of her work. Somebody who does a bit more like 101 stuff is Jason Dido. So he is a Black trans man who lives in New York, or is from New York. I'm not sure where he lives now. But yeah, he answers all kinds of questions, like 101 questions, post-op, pre-op questions, things like that, and how that works. Another great trans YouTuber is Miss Mojo. She makes lots of short films that are like really, really sensual and really sexy and creative. Another YouTuber is Pabuga, and he makes really, really fun, really, really silly videos. He's a trans man, Black trans man. He's really silly, and if you want to just see like a trans person just living their day-to-day lives, just doing normal, silly, goofy pranks or just videos like that, he's one to follow. Also on Twitter, there is an account called Dick Girl Diaries, and so she is a Mexican trans woman, and she shares a lot of her experiences being on dating apps like Grindr, and shares funny memes, funny jokes. Another one to follow is That Boy You Like, and he is a Black trans man who is an organizer here in New York City. So yeah, those are a couple of Black trans content creators who are doing amazing work and just living their lives. I really recommend that you follow all of them because they make really, really great content that not only educates you, but also just like makes you laugh. Their content is just really, really enjoyable. And they're human beings. Like, they're all individual human beings. And the same way that we want people to see our humanity and not just see us as a label, it's important that we do the same. So that is the video. If you made it this far, I want you to please leave me some hearts down in the comment section below and share some of your experiences and what you think of this topic and of this video. And I really appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time. Later, bye babes.